Wow, thank you very much. And this is, by the way, one of the truly most respected people in all of politics, beyond your state, beyond anywhere. So I just want to thank you. That was a really wonderful thing, the endorsement. Thank you, Dad. Thank you very much. Ah, that was nice. Very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, and we're going to discuss a little thing about caucuses today, right? We got to get out, we got to get this vote, and we're going to be tremendously successful. And they say it's Adele. Please say, don't say Adele, say Adele, and you got it. I wouldn't get that wrong for anything. There's not even a chance. But I really appreciate such a big crowd on such short notice, and we're going to do another one in a little while. And we just love being with you. We love being with Iowa. You've been, now Biden would say, love being with Florida. I said, you're in Iowa. Even the palm trees don't make a difference. You know, see these palm trees? It's wonderful to be in Florida, and you're in Iowa. He gets a lot of them mixed up. If that ever happened to me, it would be over. Did you see him on 60 Minutes last night? The questions? Isn't it true that you really like Israel a lot and that you'll do this and this? And he goes, yes. Isn't it true? They don't treat me that way on 60 Minutes, I want to tell you. It's a little bit different, but we like it the way we have it, right? Yes. And you should go and, sit down. I don't want you to stand here for 45 minutes, right? Although it's not a bad idea. I'd rather have it stand right here because having your endorsement is such a great honor, and I just want to thank you. Okay? Thank you, Dan. Again, thank you.
Great honor. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good time. I should keep her up here the whole time, right? Because having that endorsement is very meaningful to me and to everybody. It's a very respected, that's a very respected person. But I also thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. I also want to thank, we have some great friends here. We have State Representative Bobby Kaufman. Where's Bobby? Bobby, thank you, Bobby. What a job they're doing. Mike Sexton. Mike, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Good job. State Senators Tim Crayenbrink. Thank you, Tim. These are all people that endorse. People that don't endorse, we don't have them. Now they're all calling, the sanctimonious bomb. He bombed. He doesn't like ethanol. He doesn't like Social Security. And he doesn't like Medicare. Other than that, he's doing quite well, right? Brad's on. Brad. Brad. He was the first. Come on, Brad. Come on. Get up here, Brad. Fast. Come on. He was the first one in the whole country to endorse me. I didn't even know I was running. Come here. You want to say something? Come on, go ahead.
Is he awesome or what? Yay! The next President of the United States, and I'm honored to be the first person to endorse you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. You bet.
Thank you. I call him the Marlboro Man. He looks like the Marlboro Man to me. He could do anything. But, it's true. He endorsed me before I even ran. He said, there's a guy in New York that'd be great. We got to get him, Trump. And not too long after that, we announced. So he was definitely our first endorsement and a great, wonderful guy. And these people have been there with me from the beginning. And another one that's been here, and he's a terrific person, a great football player, by the way, Matt Whitaker, who's around someplace. Matt's around someplace. Thank you, Matt. He's a very, very loyal and wonderful man. He really has. He's been a wonderful man. And he's got a very special person looking down on him because a very special person who passed away not so long ago is looking down on Matt. And Matt is amazing. I mean, what you have to go through. But I just want to thank you, and that's true. That person, you know who we're talking about, looking down on you and proud of his father, okay? And here today, we're really talking about commit to caucus. Do you ever hear that expression? Don't forget, you have the caucus, and you're first in the nation because of a certain person named Trump. Don't let anyone tell you it was somebody else. Now, the people I introduced, they're pushing me very hard, but we decided to do that, and we wanted to do it. And we did it. And I made that promise to you a long time ago. You'll never be anywhere else but exactly where you are, first in the nation. Exactly 91 days. Can you imagine? 91 days. Are you ready? Are you ready? Wow. You know, we had a very bad thing happen in the last election, and I said, either we're going to flip it, we're going to get honest people, or we're going to just have to wait and do it. And we set a record. We did much better in the second one than we did in the first one. We set a record in votes. We got 12 million more votes. But just think of it. And I said, one way or the other, but the other we have to wait 4 years. Now 4 years is down to 91 days before we start with the caucus. And we're going to have great success. We won, as you know, we won the election twice by a lot in Iowa. And it's not a Republican, I shouldn't be saying this, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed Republican deal here. You had other people win it. We won't mention their names, but they won. But we won it twice, and we won it by a lot. And I sounded very cocky. They said, please don't say that again, sir. I said, how the hell do I lose Iowa? I got $28 billion for the farmers, right? $28 billion. So he said, sir, you shouldn't take it, take it for granted, I guess they would tell me. Please don't take it for granted, sir. It doesn't sound right. But I got $28 billion, so I'm taking it for granted. Who the hell? And the money came from China. You think getting $28 billion from China, because what they did to you is they took advantage of Iowa and the farm states, a very serious advantage for a long time. And I found out how much it was, and they said it's $28 billion. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars. No other president took in 10 cents. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars. And no president ever even asked them. No president would. Do you think Biden would say, the farmers in Iowa and Nebraska and different states, Wisconsin, they got very, very badly hurt. And we think you should pay $28 billion. And I didn't do it exactly that way. I did it a little bit differently than that. But it was a very effective approach, obviously, because they paid you $28 billion. And a lot of people in this room have big, beautiful tractors and extra land. I said, here's what you have to do. Just stick with me. We're going to make a great trade deal. Because, we did the USMCA. We did a lot of great things. But the best deal was the deal I made with China, where they pay $50 billion. Originally it was $15 billion. The number was always 15. That was at their maximum. That's what they got. And I went to my people and I said, what's the number you're talking? They said 15. So they said 15. I said, oh, okay. So I thought they meant 50. In other words, I misunderstood them. So I started telling everybody, I'm going to get you 50. They said, sir, it's 15. I said, it's too late. I've already said it. No, I said, so get me 50. We want 50. They went back. They said, we have to have 50. He's not going to take less than 50. And they got it. We got it. So think of that one. It says, something wrong with my hearing? What's going on over here? I thought they said 50. Actually, that turned out to be a very good thing. And it was a great deal. But then COVID came, and that was a whole new ballgame. I sort of I don't even talk about that deal, but that was one of the greatest deals. And, the one thing is you have to have a president that knows how to push it. I'd go to the office every day and I'd say, how's China doing today? Are they buying? Are they buying? Are they buying? Because they have to buy it. And with me, they bought. With Biden, they're not buying like they're supposed to be buying. They're sort of letting it sleep a little bit. They're going to other countries to curry favor. But pretty soon we'll have them buying again, won't we? We'll have them buying again. But still, I say that the economy, basically, it's just running on our firms. We had the greatest economy in history. And the only reason we're doing okay now, and it's not very good, it's heading south very fast. Gasoline just hit $5.50 a gallon. You saw that. We were at $1.87. We're actually lower than that at some points. But it just hit $5, $5.50. In California, it's up to $7 and $8. So here we go again. Here we go again with this guy. But I told you, buy larger tractors and more land. Remember when I was negotiating with China? It took a while, but the farmers were very loyal. They didn't say, oh, what's he doing? Because for a while, I said, you're going to suffer for a little while. It's like I called a good negotiation. But I said that to the farmers, and they said, whatever it is. I'll never forget, I watched a show. Are you angry with President Trump? He said, no, he's doing the right thing. It's going to take pain. And it was painful for about 6-7 months. Remember, they took away, they didn't buy anything, didn't they? They purposely didn't buy anything. But the farmers stuck. All they wanted was a flat, nice, even playing field. They didn't want anything. And I tell the story where I had 28, I think 28 or 32 farmers at the Oval Office, and we were talking, and I said, I'm going to get you subsidy, and we're going to get this and that. And one of them looked at me, speaking for the whole group, said, sir, we don't want subsidy. We just want a level playing field, and we're better than anybody else in the world. And that's what I got you. And not a lot of people say that. You know, to be honest with you, not a lot of people say that to me. Usually, if I say subsidy, it's fine. They'll take it any way you give it to them. But the farmers didn't want that. They just wanted a level playing field. I never forgot that meeting. I thought it was incredible. Together, we're going to win for Iowa and the Iowa caucuses. We're going to have a historic landslide. We want to start off really strong with that. And that's an important, right? That's an important event. That's going to be a very important event. People are watching. They're saying, maybe, you know, we're up like 60 points on DeSanctimonious and all these other people, Bird Brain. No, we're up like 60 points. So they're saying, maybe, just maybe we can do something. If we could do something in Iowa, maybe we could change the tide. But every week we go up, up, up in Iowa. We're already at a level. You can't go up too much higher. Too much higher, the scale breaks, right? But we're doing great here, and we're going to always do great here, I think. I really believe that. I really believe it. In November, we're going to do something. We're going to make America great again. You see what's happening to our country. You see what's happening in the Middle East. All that stuff would never have happened. Israel would never have been attacked. Ukraine would never have been attacked. I mean, go back to Ukraine. Ukraine, it was attacked because of the incompetence of Afghanistan, the way they move. I mean, Putin's looking back and he sees this guy that can't even put two sentences together. They leave Afghanistan. They take the soldiers out first. No, but you don't take the soldiers out first. You take the soldiers out last. The soldiers don't mind. They took the soldiers out first, and it was like a free-for-all. They left back $85 billion worth of brand new equipment that was bought by me. You know, we rebuilt our whole military. We did a great job with that. We had fighter jets that were 48 years old. We rebuilt our military. How about being in a 48-year-old fighter jet flying around? You got to fight somebody in a brand new one. No, it's not. Typically, it doesn't work that way. Typically, it doesn't work too well. But we rebuilt our military. We unfortunately gave $85 billion to the Taliban. And now Afghanistan, as you know, is one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They got 700,000 rifles and guns, 70,000 trucks and cars, many of them armor-plated, you know, costing $1 million a piece. Armor-plated, 4 inches of steel. And you say, why did you leave it? Why did you leave it? We weren't leaving it. I said even take out the leather hangers, you know, to make it actually have leather. You think of plastic, but with the government, they sort of get leather instead because, you know, they always go the most expensive route. But the hangers, I said, I want every nut, I want every bolt, I want every screw that's laying on the ground, I want everything to go out. And one of them said to me, Millie, he said, sir, it would be cheaper if we left everything. I said, where does this guy come? Where does he come from? A brand new airplane cost $128 million, right? I said, you mean you think it's cheaper to leave it than to fill it up with a little fuel and fly it the hell out to, even if you just fly it to Pakistan, then you bring it back home or you fly it back home. Most of them can make that journey, right? Oh, it's better to leave it there. I don't want to tell you what I had to go through with these people. Some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. But we have... But you know what? But our military is great. We had some of the most incredible. Don't forget, we defeated ISIS in 4 weeks, less. I was told it took 4 years, sir, maybe 4 years. What, 4 years? And I went over to Iraq and I met with people and generals and sergeants. I met with everybody and I said, what do you think? So we could do it in less than 4 weeks. And I said, they tell me 4 years. We can do it in less than 4 years. He's the one general, he was fantastic. He said to me, sir, I'm just telling you, 4 weeks and we have time left over. And I said, well, I'm not getting the same stuff. Why is it that didn't work? Well, what they do is, I call them the television generals. They'd come over and they'd tell these guys what to do, and they'd do it. I said, but don't you say that you're not supposed to do that? I mean, we can do it much better. Sir, that's not our position. When the high rankers, they call them high rankers, come over from Washington, we do what they tell us to do. I said, so why is it so bad? Well, they want to use the one base that's very far away, and they didn't want to be, politically incorrect, so they didn't want to use other bases that they had all over the place. And he said, sir, we can use those bases, and we'll hit them from the left, we'll hit them from the right, we'll hit them from the bottom, we'll hit them from the top. They won't know what the hell happened, sir. And that's what happened, and I got it knocked off. And you know the longer version of the story, which is a cool story, but I won't bore you with it. I can only tell you this, that our military is amazing. It's amazing. We have the great military. And it's not going woke. It's not going. We're not going to have our military be woke, fellas, okay? You don't want a woke. You don't want a woke. I don't think he wants a woke military. It's not going to go woke. They would like to have it woke, but we're not going to let that happen. But now we have death and destruction all over the planet because we have the worst and most incompetent president in the history of our country. He's incompetent. He's only good at weaponizing justice against political people and religious people, frankly, a lot of religious people. What a shame. If they spent the same energy on defeating all of the enemies that we have more enemies now. We had all peace. You know that. Remember when crooked Hillary Clinton, which I don't call it that anymore because I'm using, I call her beautiful Hillary, right? Beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. But remember when beautiful Hillary went out and she said, he'll cause war. Here's his personality. He'll cause war in our country. I said, no, I'll end war. And I was right. I didn't have any wars. I'm the only president in like 80 years that didn't have a war. I got rid of ISIS. We won ISIS. We beat ISIS. We did a lot of things nobody can believe. But we didn't start a war. They started wars in the Middle East that they never finished. They blew the place up. It was like obliterated. And then they left with nothing. I used to say, don't start a war, but if you're going to have it, like with Iraq, keep the oil. Do you remember I used to say that? Just as a civilian. I was like you. I was watching people. I'd say, keep the oil. They have hundreds of billions. Iraq has tremendous amounts of oil right now. I said, keep the oil. And they didn't keep the oil. They kept nothing. We went in, lost a lot of lives, bombed the hell out of the place. I mean, what happened there? You had, I don't know if you know, just a quick look. So for thousands of years, you had Iran and Iraq, and they were actually almost equal. And they'd fight each other, fight. That's all they do is fight, fight. And they'd come to a stalemate, then they'd rest for a few years, then they'd come back and they'd fight. They did this forever, under different names. But basically you had this group, and they'd fight. Then we went in, we obliterated Iraq, and now you have Iran. They had a natural barrier. They were exactly the same militarily. I mean, they would literally fight. Sometimes your line would move 10 feet this way, 10 feet this way, on for many, many centuries, actually. And then we came in and we brilliantly, just absolutely pulverized Iraq and Saddam Hussein, remember? And now we have one power instead of two. The two powers kept each other in check. That's called nature. That's called the way it is, but it's a shame. What's happened is a shame. And Iran is behind this. In case anybody, they don't like to say it because they gave him $6 billion. I heard the trade. I said, finally, we make a trade that's even, because usually we make a trade where, trade of hostages. By the way, I did 58 hostages. We never paid 10 cents because it's a horrible precedent. But I'd always see where they make a trade where, we get 2 people and they get 10 people and stuff like that. I mean, the trade with Russia was a tough trade. They got the world's #1 arms merchant. They call him the merchant of death. They got them. Now we got one person. And then we didn't even get the other gentleman out. They wouldn't even give us the other gentleman. These are the worst negotiators. But I heard this one, 5 for 5. We get 5, you get 5. And I was happy. Then I said, and also the United States will give them $6 billion. I said, that doesn't seem, we get 5, they get $6 billion. It's and that's nothing compared to what they did, really, because what they did is much worse than that, because we wouldn't allow other countries to buy their oil. We said, if you want to buy their oil, you can, but you can't do business in the United States. That included China. And in addition to that, anything you sell to us, we're going to tariff you like at 100%. So everybody said, well, we didn't buy. So they were broke. If you look at Iran, in my last couple of years, they were broke and they were ready to make a deal. We would have made a good deal for them, for everybody. They would have been happy, okay? They would have been happy, and we would have made a deal. We just want one thing. We want no nuclear weapons, and we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they are now weeks away from having a nuclear weapon, and these guys don't even talk about it. And once they have a nuclear weapon, you're not going to be able to even discuss anything with them. They won't even take your phone call. It's so sad because we had them at a point where we could have made any deal I wanted. They were broke. They had no money. In all fairness, China didn't buy anything. Almost any country they didn't buy, because if they bought, we wouldn't have allowed. We told them, you won't do any business. Most of them do a big business in the United States. No business. And we're going to tariff anything you put in. We're going to tariff at 100%. So they stopped buying. And if you look at the oil from 3-4 years ago, they weren't selling anything, and they were, they had no money, and they were willing to talk, and we talked, and they would have made a deal that would have been great for us, and it would have been good for the world, would have been good for them. But then these people came in a very bad way. They came in, and they didn't even pick that up. They didn't pick it up, and immediately they started selling to China. China's buying millions and millions and millions of barrels of oil, and their ships are all over the place. It's incredible to see, and they've become very wealthy. They have over $100 billion now, think of it. So the $6 billion is a lot, but the $6 billion is sort of easy to say because it's so easy to understand, but the oil thing is far worse, because by allowing them, they took off the sanctions. They still have the sanctions on, but they don't enforce them. Because the sanctions I see in these countries, sanctions are worthless if you don't have a leader that's going to enforce them. So they don't enforce the sanctions that I put on, and they're making a fortune, and they want to come into the war, too. When you see what they say, if you do anything here or anything there, we will come in. And they have a very big army. They have a lot of people, a lot of men, a very big military. And it's very sad when I look at this. This is something that would have never happened. Not even a thought. Israel wouldn't have been attacked. You wouldn't have lost all the people that have been lost. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be lost into the future on all sides. And it's a very, very sad thing to see. And it's gross incompetence on behalf of Biden and this crime family of people. It's a crime family. All because of a rigged election, too. Don't kid yourself. And you can say it any way you want. But you look at the numbers. I wish I had a judge that would look at the numbers. It was a rigged election, but now we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. They say, sir, forget it. You can't forget. If you forget, it's going to happen again. We're never going to let it happen again. So you can't forget. You have to learn from history. If you don't learn from history, you're a fool. So I fought for Israel like no president ever before, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, which was a big deal. And even recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that they never even thought. We gave them that. And when I left, Iran was weak and desperate, and they wanted to do, and Joe Biden came along, and he just made them so happy. I wonder if he gets a deal from them, too, like he does from everyone else. You think? So I think there's a substantial chance. I mean, I would say that. But we stand with Israel, and something's going to happen that I don't know. I look at the level of ferocity right now, and that didn't exist 3 years ago. It didn't exist because they didn't have the cards. Now they have a lot of the cards, and it's a very, very, very bad thing. I've been telling you for the last year, and did you ever hear the expression, Trump was right about everything? They have that. If you look back, I mean, I don't want to brag here, but I've been right about everything. I've been right about everything. I mean, Putin, and I got along well with the fake news media back there. They would say, oh, it's terrible that he got along. Well, he's got a lot of nuclear warheads and, getting along. But I got along very well with him. He would have never done it for a lot of reasons. Number one, I said, you can't do it, Vladimir, because if you do it, you're going to get hit so hard. Oh. And I don't want to tell you what I said in terms of where he's getting hit, but very hard. And he said, no way. I said, way. No way. No way. And honestly, he didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. That was enough. That was enough. He would have never gone in. And, we got along, but he would have never gone in on that. But, where he also wouldn't have gone in. I had oil at $40 a barrel. Now it's $100 a barrel, and it was even $115 when he really started this thing. He was making so much money because the oil was far greater than the cost of a war, believe it or not. You know, you think war is like so expensive, and it is. And now oil is getting ready to hit another all-time high. And so it's very hard. So that Biden, by stopping all of the energy coming out, you know, he wants to put windmills all over the place, and he wants to do things that are very expensive, but he doesn't want any petroleum. He doesn't want any petroleum product. And he doesn't want oil and gas, although he's taking it from Venezuela. Did you see that? Venezuela was supposed to be the enemy. When I left, I think we would have taken over Venezuela. Now all of a sudden they're selling us. Thank you very much, Venezuela, for selling us your tar. You know, they have not good stuff. And for the environmentalists, you know, they say Venezuela. You know where the only refineries in the entire world that can refine that crap are in Houston, Texas. So it's sent to Houston, Texas. It's tar. And it's very tough, and it's very expensive. But a lot of stuff, you know, if you all believe in that, and we do to a large extent, not, you know, we're not crazy people. We're not going to destroy the country for it. But all of that stuff flows into the air. Now, why would they do that? Very expensive. And we have the best energy. We have the best oil, but we have more oil and gas than any country in the world. We have more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. And we don't touch it. But we'll take filthy, dirty stuff and refine it in Houston. You know, I mean, literally, it's the only plant in the whole world that can refine it. And that's what we do. And we've now taken essentially a dictatorship or whatever you want to call it. A lot of people have left. Very tough place. And we've made them very rich very quickly. Think of it. We've made them rich. They were ready to make any deal I wanted. They were going to make any deal I wanted. We would have gotten freedom over there. But they met very stupid people, and that's what happened. So somebody said to me when I was walking up, would you do the snake? Do you know the snake? Does anybody know the snake? Because, you know, we have a big problem. You probably haven't heard this. We have a big problem with illegal immigration. Has anybody heard about that? You know, we have about 15 million people allowed in our country that shouldn't be here. And many of those people come from mental institutions, and they come from very, very bad places, very bad places. They come from jails and prisons. There's a slight difference between the both, right? Which is worse, a jail or a prison? Perhaps prison. And then they come from insane asylums and mental institutions. Insane asylum is heavy stuff, right? Mental institution is not good. Insane asylum is Silence of the Lamb, right? Silence of the Lamb, that's insane asylum. We're talking about, well, they're insane asylums. A lot of my people say, sir, please don't use the term insane asylum. It's very bad. I said, no, let's tell the truth, right? They're coming from insane asylums. They're coming from mental institutions, and they're terrorists coming. Do you know, in 2019, they did a report. They found no terrorists at all coming through the border. That's with me. 2019, and now they're setting records. They're coming in, and they're coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen, and a lot of them are really bad ones. So we have something called the snake, and it was done a long time ago. It was something that was not meant for this purpose, but it was purpose. It's so incredible how accurate it is, and I'll say it. People find it fascinating. It really relates to the border and the people you let in. And now you can talk about Israel, because a lot of the people that are attacking Israel are coming into our country. So what do they have in mind? And a lot of them are young, strong men. I hate to tell you women, there aren't a lot of women. There are a lot of strong, young men. And they're coming in, and I say, be prepared. Be prepared. And hopefully the one thing that we really have to be careful of is World War III, because we're right on the cusp of World War III. We're so close. We're so close. And we have a man who's not an intelligent man. Never was. Never was. He wasn't intelligent 30 years ago in his prime. And he's not intelligent now. And now he's really off. He doesn't know how to get off a stage. No, he gets on a stage. You ever see him walk off? He can't find the exit. Look, you're on a stage, right? I've never seen the stage before. I don't like flies. Do we like flies? I don't like. But no, he's on a stage, and you got to stare and a stare. Usually, typically, you don't have a stare behind, but sometimes you do. But what you do is you look, and you see there's a stare too. And the guy I see last night, He finishes the speech. Oh, yeah. And then, thank you. You saw this, right? Thank you. Thank you. He's pointing. He can't find his way. And this is the guy that's in charge of whether or not we're in a nuclear war that's going to obliterate the world. And it's just so bad. I'll tell you what, we got to win this election. If we don't win the election, our country, we're not going to have a country. I mean, just lasting another year is almost impossible to think with the weaponized elections and all the stuff they do. Today, a judge put on a gag order. I'll be the only politician in history that runs with a gag order where I'm not allowed to criticize people. Can you imagine this? Do you believe this? I'm not allowed to criticize people. So we'll see. We'll appeal it, and we'll see. But it's so unconstitutional. The good thing is we have so much support. It's incredible. And it just makes it even more so. Look, I'm the only guy that ever got indicted. I got indicted more than Alphonse Capone. Did anyone ever hear of Al Capone? If you looked at him the wrong way, he was seriously tough, right? Scarface. You know, they call him Scarface. Had a little scar in there. I'm sure it was a minor accident. But he was Scarface. But Al Capone, if you looked at him in the wrong way, if he didn't like you, you looked at him a little bit askance, he blew your brains out. He was only indicted one time. I've been indicted 4 times. And in addition, I have these civil trials that are all coming out of the Justice Department. They've weaponized the Justice Department and the FBI. They've weaponized, think of it, the Justice Department. This is like a banana republic. But we're going to be okay. The good news is I'm the only one that's ever been indicted where the numbers went through the roof. Because the people understand it. No, it's true. He challenged the election. The election was crooked. They're saying you'd never challenge an election. You're supposed to believe these people, right? How about the 51 intelligence agents that lied? Turned out they lied. How about the FBI Twitter files? All that stuff. All of the votes, if you look at 2,000 Mules, if you look at that, those are tapes of people stuffing ballot boxes. Those aren't people saying, those are tapes. People don't want to hear it. But no, they put a gag order on me. And I'm not supposed to be talking about things that bad people do. And so we'll be appealing very quickly. But, you know, people understand it. And normally if you get indicted, if you're a politician, I've watched it for years, they get indicted and they walk to a microphone about 4 minutes later. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be leaving office to fight for my reputation and spend time with my family. I love my family so much. You know, that they're out, they're gone. With me, I have a big platform so I can explain things. But they want to indict for challenging an election, rightfully challenging. And what about all the people that challenged me in 2016? Hillary Clinton and all these people? You ever hear Maxine Waters? You ever hear her rhetoric? She wants to kill people. You ever hear this stuff? And yet they challenged me peacefully and patriotically. Remember the speech? Peacefully and patriotically. Oh, that's insurrection. That's a horrible thing. Peacefully, and think of it, and then many other things during the course of a period of time. And the truth is, Nancy Pelosi was offered 10,000 soldiers 2 days before the event because I knew it was going to be a big crowd, and she turned them down. She didn't like the look. So it's a disgrace what's happened to our country. But this is a little play on words and concepts, and it's something that's people love. I mean, people love. It's so accurate because it's happening to our country right now. And now you can add in just the illegal immigration. You can see what's going on in the Middle East, and it's really sad and really incredible. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried. I'll take you in and I'll take care of you. Right? That's what we're doing. Come on in. Come on in, everybody. From your prisons, from your mental institutions. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up, all cozy, in a comforter of silk, and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night and Soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake, take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake, vicious, vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried, but if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake, take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. How accurate is that? How accurate. I mean, by the way, that is exact. And people love that. You know, they're always a snake. People hear it sometimes. I don't do it often, but they hear it. They hear it 10 times and they can't get enough of it, but it's true. That's exactly what's happening in our country. That's exactly what's happening. We know people coming in. They're coming in from prisons, a snake. They're coming in from mental institutions, snake. They're terrorists, snake. If you think about it, it's pretty accurate, right? It's pretty sad how stupid our people are. So I just, I'm here to tell you that if we don't win this election, we're going to be in trouble like this country has never been in. Our country is in more danger now than it's ever been. And by the way, excuse me, I have a book loaded up with nice, wonderful, I have a great speechwriter who writes these things, but it's so much more interesting this way, isn't it? And you think Biden can do this? I don't think so. He can't do this. No, he can't read it. He can't read anything. How about the other days at a news conference? He's going to take one question. I used to take 30 questions of the White House from hostile people. I said, why are you so angry? You know, we have a great economy, the anger, the hatred. But the other day, I see, okay, Jim Smith from NBC. Mr. President, could we ask you a question? Yes. And he asks him a question, and then he picks up the book and he reads the answer. They never did that. Did you see that? No, he reads the answer off the book. But I thought the worst, I tell you what, I thought the worst. You have to watch CBS because it can't be, you cannot imitate how bad it was. The questions, they weren't questions. They were questions in the form of, I'm giving you the answer and the question simultaneously. All you have to do is say yes. It's terrible what's going on. And, you know, we have so much at stake and we're losing our country. I mean, think of it. Every single thing they've done is a mistake. They have an open border. It's like April Fool's Day. They have an open border. It's April Fool. Who wants an open border? Does anybody? I mean, if you're a super radical liberal, do you really want an open border where millions of people are flooding your country, going in, taking over your schools, your hospitals? You can't get a hospital appointment. The whole thing is crazy. And because he invited him up. See, I invited him not up. I invited him the opposite of up. Once you get up, and now in California with Gavin Newsom, what they're doing, they're giving everybody free education, free this, free that. Who the hell's not coming to the United States? Come to the United States and we'll give you free education, we'll give you health care, we'll give you everything. In the meantime, our veterans are sitting on streets and not being taken care of, okay? They're sitting on streets. It's so sad to see it. I mean, it's so sad and so pathetic to see it. But we've never, I don't believe we've ever had a time like this. Everything we do is wrong. I mean, you can name any single thing, it's wrong. No voter ID. They don't want voter ID. Why don't you want voter ID? Because we want to cheat on elections. By the way, in all fairness, Democrats want voter ID, but the people that run it don't. Because if you think about it, high taxes, high interest rates, open borders, everything they have is terrible. Nobody can win. Can you imagine we're going to raise your interest rates, right? We're going to have you pay the highest taxes in the history. I gave you the greatest tax cut in history, and they want to double and triple and everything. But who's going to vote for these things? We want a woke military. We want a weak country. We want to be laughed at all over the world. We're laughed at all over the world. He's laughed at all over the world, and he's our representative. They didn't laugh at us. I'll tell you that. They did not laugh at us. We had a case where Macron, good guy, he's doing his thing from France, doing his thing for his country, and they were going to put a big tax on our businesses, and my people said, sir, they're going to tax our businesses. In other words, if you do business in France, they're going to put a big tax. So Emmanuel Macron, the boss, and I liked him. I got along with him. He's just doing his thing. If you can get away with it, you got to do it. That's what we should do too. That's what we did for 4 years. But what happened is they came in, they said he's putting a big tax on companies that do business in France. I said, nope, not fair. That's bad. Half of the companies I didn't like, but these were American companies, and they're not going to be taxed unfairly, and they're not taxing, they're just taxing Americans because they think it's a stupidly run country. So what happens is I said no, and I gave them instructions, go back and tell them no. And they came back 2 days later, and they said, sir, I'm sorry. Secretary of the Treasury said this. Said, sir, I'm sorry, but we can't make a deal with them. It's too late. They said it's too late. I said, it's not too late. Watch. And I get him on the phone. Emmanuel, how are you, Emmanuel? I hear you're taxing all of our companies that happen to do. Yes, oh yes, Donald, we passed. We're in the most beautiful accent. Oh yes, Donald. We passed this 2 weeks ago. It's nothing I can do about it. I said, all right, there's nothing I can do about this either. You either get rid of that tax, or every bottle of wine and champagne that comes into our country, and we have just as good as you do, if not better, every bottle of wine or champagne that comes into our country, we're going to put a 100% tax on. And he said, no, you cannot do that. I said, oh, I can do that. I'm going to do it. I have the legislation right in front of me. I could do it myself. I didn't need to have to go through Congress, which takes forever. I said, this will be... On a Monday morning, you're going to pay from there on, you're going to pay 100% on every bottle of wine or champagne that comes into our country. So you call me back within 20 minutes and let me know what you want to do. He calls me back within 2 minutes. We have decided not to charge your companies a tax. That was it. It was the end. But nobody. You think Biden does that? You think Biden does that? You have to, look, you have to play your cards. We have tremendous cards, but soon we won't have those cards because we won't have a country left, We won't have a country left. We did so many things. I could tell you 150, 200,000. I could tell you 1,000 stories like that. But remember, to get this country on track on January 15th, you have to get out there and you have to show, and you call it the caucus. It's a big deal. It's a caucus. Defeating crooked Joe Biden begins with getting your friends and your family and neighbors to vote at your local precinct caucuses. You have to get out and just get 5 people, 10 people, get as many people as you can. It's just a show of force. We're going to win. But one thing, you got to get out, okay? You got to get out. Because you never know. Sometimes you say, oh, he's going to win by so much. Let's not do it. And if 100% of the people say that, bad things, you got to get out. You got to get out and you got to do it. But we're really doing great with the primaries. We're doing great against Crooked Joe. We're up about 12 or 14 points in Iowa on Crooked Joe Biden. But we have to get out. So get involved. So text Iowa to 88022 or sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com. So we'll get involved and ensure the victory that we have to have, because we're going to start off with Iowa. It's a big, it's such a political thing. That's why all the people that wanted to change it, I said, you can't. It's sort of become a beautiful custom. It's Iowa. It's a big political state. It's a very powerful, big, beautiful political state, and we love it. And we love it. Now, if I didn't win it, I probably wouldn't be saying I love it, but we love it, and that's the way it should be. It's a tradition. They want to break all traditions in this country. They want to break that one. I wouldn't let it happen. So get out and vote. We're going to have a tremendous January 15th. We're going to have a tremendous day, but we're going to have, much more importantly, in November, we're going to have it'll be the biggest event in the history of our country, and we're going to save our country because our country is going bad. We have people that truly are making every wrong decision. They make every single decision is a stupid decision or a bad decision, or they hate our country. Some of these decisions are so bad. I said, anybody that can cheat on elections like that can't be stupid, right? Can't be stupid. And it's almost as though they want to destroy our country. And we're not going to let them do that. So we have to win in November. And I just want to thank you all. You've been incredible friends of mine. And I know so many people in the audience. But I just want to thank you all. Get out, caucus, and let's win big. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Iowa. It is great to be back in the home of First in the Nation caucuses. You're first in the nation. I wonder who kept you there. Guess what? It was me. You're there because of me, and I'm here because of you, in a true sense. But we're just 91 days away from the most important vote of your lives. This is going to be the most important election we've ever had. Our country's going to hell fast. We're not respected. We're laughed at all over the world. You see what's going on. The Middle East, that would have never happened. Ukraine would have never happened. Afghanistan, the way that took place was the most boring and horrible situation. Nobody's ever seen anything. Probably the most embarrassing situation anyone's ever seen. Nobody's ever seen anything like that, the way we fled and left behind $85 billion worth of equipment, American citizens, and most importantly, 13 of our great soldiers killed, and many of them badly hurt, 38 of them so badly hurt. You wouldn't believe how badly hurt. With your support, on Monday, January 15th, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses in an epic landslide. And we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden. He's a crooked, incompetent man. Next November, and we're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. We're going to do that. Seems hard to believe because we've gone so down. We were so powerful, so great. Just 3 years ago, energy independent. We're going to be energy dominant, and you think of what they've done to this country. I want to thank Representatives Bobby Kaufman, who's here with us. Thank you, Bobby, wherever you may be. A lot of people here. Wherever you are, Bobby, wherever the hell you are, thank you. Brooke Bowden. Thank you, Brooke. Thanks, Brooke. Great job. Stan Gustafson, and Stan, you've been fantastic right from the beginning, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Luana Stoltenberg, same name as the Secretary General. You know who I'm talking about, right? It's a great name and a great woman. Thank you very much. State Senators Sherilyn Westrick. Sherilyn, thank you. Thank you. Lynn Evans. Thank you very much. Great job. Been here right from the beginning, too. And Brad Zahn. You know, he endorsed me. Brad endorsed me before I ran. He said, there's a guy in New York that we have to get to run. Brad was the first endorsement, I believe, in the country, wherever you are. And your mother-in-law is here, much more importantly. Where's your mother-in-law? Stand up, mother-in-law. He loves his mother-in-law. Thank you very much. His wife and mother-in-law. But he didn't even mention the wife. He said, my mother-in-law is coming today. That's pretty good, right? Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks for everything, Brett. Former Acting Attorney General of the United States, Matt Whitaker, a fantastic person. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. And today I'm truly honored to receive the endorsement of Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird, one of the most popular and successful politicians in the state. She's a fantastic woman, respected all over the country, actually. And I want to thank her very much. Congratulations to the next governor of Louisiana also. Jeff Landry just won over the weekend. And he got a majority, so he's now going to be the next governor of Louisiana. He was an attorney general and did a fantastic job. I endorsed him, and he became a rocket ship like everyone else. And he went up and he won the race very convincingly and got the majority, and he won. So we're very proud of him. He's a great gentleman. Making America great again must begin with making America strong and making America safe again. We have to make it safe. It's not safe. Our country is in such trouble. Under my leadership, the world's thugs and villains and killers and savages were in retreat and running scared. They were running scared. All because you had a president who stood up for America. We took a lot of heat for doing it, too, remember? We took a lot of heat, but we stood up to everybody, and we stood up for Israel, and We stood up for Judeo-Christian civilization and values. Hard to believe you take heat for that, right? Used to be that was a wonderful thing. Today you take heat. We'll turn that around. Just like I said years ago, we're going to turn Christmas around. Remember, the department stores they refused to use the word Christmas. They wouldn't say Merry Christmas. They'd say Happy New Year. They'd have red. They'd have everything perfect. I said, where's Christmas? And by the time we finished, they all had Christmas up there. But in 4 short years, I obliterated the ISIS territorial caliphate. They said it couldn't be done. I terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. They were after him for 14 years. We got him. We got him. I annihilated the senior ranks of al-Qaeda, never to be heard from again. I eliminated Iran's terrorist mastermind, Qasem Soleimani, who was killing our soldiers by the thousands and thousands. He's the father of the roadside bomb. He loved the roadside bomb. I withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, crushed the murderous Iranian regime with sanctions, and starved Hamas. And we took Hamas and Hezbollah and all of the rest. We took them to task like nobody else has ever done. And they were behaving for 4 years. You didn't see any problems anywhere, including here. I never talked about it when it was happening. I'd be in 3 years, 3.5 years. I said, I don't want to talk about it. But as soon as I got out, I said nothing happened for 4 years. We didn't have any problems. We got out of the wars. We won the wars. We defeated ISIS. We won all the wars and got out. We brought our great troops back home. I choked off the money to corrupt Palestinian organizations and stood with Israel like no president in history, recognizing the eternal capital, opening up the American embassy in Jerusalem, and recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. That was a big deal. And with the historic Abraham Accords, we had peace in the Middle East. Can you believe that? We had peace until this character came along. He didn't know what he was doing. His name was Crooked Joe Biden. And under Biden, it's danger, death, and destruction all over the world. That's what it's been. It's been a disaster. Whether it's the borders, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Ukraine, everything is broken. The whole world is broken. A great gentleman, the head of Hungary, he said something the other day. He said, they were asking him, what would he recommend to Joe Biden to straighten out the world? He said, there's only one thing you can do. Only one thing. Put Trump back, he said. You better put Trump back. That's Viktor Orban. Everybody heard of him? He's probably the strongest leader, a very powerful man. But he said, put Trump back. We had no problems with China. We had no problems with the Middle East. We had no problems with anything. They respected him, but they don't respect this guy. We have war in Europe and war in the Middle East because we have the weakest and most incompetent president in American history. You know, I used to be much easier on him. Then I got indicted. I said, now it's time to play hardball. They indicted me for nothing. They indicted me because I attacked an election that was rigged and stolen. And everybody knows it. Just as they have done. How many Democrats said the same thing in 2016, right? But with them, it's okay. With us, we're not allowed to do that. The heinous attacks on Israel this month would never have happened if I was your president. Zero chance of that happening. When I left office, Iran was weak, broke, and desperate to make a deal. They were ready to make a deal. We would have had a deal within 2 weeks after the election. I told other nations, including China, that if you buy oil from Iran, you can't do business in the United States. I said, I'm going to tariff the hell out of you if you buy oil, but you're just not going to do business in the United States. Every single nation complied. They didn't buy any oil. Iran's terrorist regime was bankrupt. It was hemorrhaging money and could barely pay the salaries of the radical Islamic thugs. Couldn't pay. They had no money. I hammered them. In fact, today there was a big article. With Trump, Iran was broke. With Biden, Iran is rich and powerful. It's very simple. He let them all go back, and they're selling more oil than almost anybody in the world. I hammered Iranian oil exports down to record lows. They've never seen anything like it. But then Biden came in, loosened my sanctions. He took some of the sanctions off, actually, and today Iran is producing more than 3 million barrels a day. That's a lot of money. They got so much money. Iran went from bleeding money, having no money under me, to raking in $100 billion a year under crooked Joe Biden. And on top of that, Biden gave them $6 billion for hostages. Remember that? 5 and 5. I said, oh, finally. Usually it's like, 10 and 1. So 5 and 5. I said, they said, well, there's one other thing. What? They get $5 billion. I said, that doesn't sound so good, does it? So they get 5 plus $5 billion. $5 billion. Does anyone know $5 billion? That's a lot of money. And now these tens of billions of dollars are being used to kill, kidnap, torture, rape, and murder innocent people. Would somebody please inform the worst president in the history of our country, crooked Joe Biden, who doesn't have a clue? He can't walk off a stage. He can't walk off a... No, the guy can't walk off a stage. He looks around. Oh, I see what happened. This stage is more complex because this actually has a curtain. This is a more expensive stage for you. Normally you can see the exits, right? Oh, maybe that's what happened. I see. Okay, now I get it. He was up here, and he can't find the stairs. But somehow you got to do it, right? There's a stair right there. Now, do you ever see him? He walks, he finishes the speech, stumbles through. By that time, it's starting to wear off, Whatever happened to the cocaine they found in the White House? It was weird. Through a presidential entrance. We found massive amounts of cocaine, but we don't know whose it is. I think I know whose it is, you think? But he can't put two sentences together. Well, he dithers around and he illegally attacks his political opponent, me. He attacks his political opponent. I've been indicted more than Alphonse Capone in the last. They all happened so fast, too. They all happened right before the election. How about I have a trial scheduled for the day before Super Tuesday? I can't imagine the courts are going to allow that to happen. The day before Super Tuesday. Oh, no, that's not political, is it? It's not going to matter because the people of the country get it. That's why I'm the only person ever indicted where my numbers went up. It's true. But the great Al Capone, did anybody ever hear of Alphonse Capone? He was so mean. If you looked at him in the wrong way, he'd blow you away. He'd kill you, kill people for fun. Scarface, he had a big scar on his face. I'm sure it happened very innocently. Big, horrible, grotesque scar. Scarface, do you ever hear that? Scarface. He was only indicted once. I got indicted 4 times in a matter of seconds. Oh, my father would be so proud of me. Son, you've been indicted? He wouldn't believe it, actually. But they've weaponized law enforcement. That's all they did. Indicted for nothing. They've weaponized law enforcement. But the people of this country get it. We have an incompetent guy. And I used to, out of respect for the office, I never used to talk about him this way. I felt this, but I wouldn't do it out of respect for the office. But once he did that, he did something that's a banana republic. That's what you do in banana republics. That's what you do in third world countries. So while Biden is always trying to blame everyone else for the many mistakes he has made, Iran is rapidly building a large-scale arsenal of nuclear weapons. Did everybody know that? And once they have them, and they weren't building them with me. Number one, they didn't have the money, but they weren't building them with me. I was ready for that if they did. But once they have them, which will be a matter of weeks, do you know that? Weeks. All negotiations stop. They won't even pick up the phone to speak to your president as he mumbles along, and they say, what the hell's wrong with that guy? That's when our incompetent fool of a president will drop to his knees and beg Iran for mercy. Please, please. You ever hear the song, James Brown? Please, please, please. James called me Mr. Brown. But he'd say, please, Mr. Ayatollah, sir. This is Joe Biden talking. Please, Mr. Ayatollah, sir. I will give you everything. I will do anything you demand. Please, please don't hurt us. This is the position that this fool has put us in, and we're closer to World War III than we've ever been to any world war. Nobody ever thought a thing like this could happen, and we're closer than ever before. We've never been, and I've been saying it for a long time. Did you ever see Trump was right about everything on hats? I don't know who did the hats, but I have been right about most of it. And I don't want to be right about that, so I'm not going to make, but I tell you, we are close. We are close. It could happen. And we have a fool. We have an incompetent fool as our president that has no idea. This is nuclear weapons. These are weapons that are so massively destructive. It's obliteration. It's not two army tanks running at each other and shooting. 3 years ago, under Trump, Iran was broke, had no nuclear weapons or even the prospect of a nuclear weapon. Biden has made Iran rich in a period of 3 years and has no idea what to do about it. And they are in a position where they're going to have weapons, and they're going to be big ones too. Iran started the attack on Israel and desperately wants to become openly involved. Now, Biden refuses to admit that. Biden says, well, so far we haven't seen any evidence. Well, they're financing Hamas and they're financing Hezbollah. They're giving them the money. They're giving them the training. He says they haven't, he feels bad because somehow he's like in their pocket. He's in their pocket. But they go around saying death to Israel, death to America, and they chant it openly all over the place. Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them. We would have made a deal. They would have been satisfied. Everybody would have been satisfied. But then we had that corrupt election. Our country has never been so low or in such danger as it is right now. And don't feel too depressed as I talk to you, because we can bring it back. We've got to win the election. We'll bring it back stronger than ever before. Stronger than ever before. I didn't want to be too much of a downer here. I have to hit you with a little positivity, right? I got to give you a little bit. We'll be stronger than ever, but we got to win this election. It's a long time. You have yours on January 15th, the caucuses, but we have a year, essentially a year to go. A year's a long time when you have incompetent and bad people and corrupt people running our country. But it's very simple. Joe Biden betrayed America and betrayed Israel. But as your president, I will stand with Israel 100%. We have to. We have to. And I kept Israel safe before. Then with 4 more years in the White House, I will defend the state of Israel like no one else can. Nobody else will be able to do that. Look at what we did. We defeated ISIS. Remember when Hillary Clinton, I don't call her crooked anymore. I've given that term over to Biden. I call her beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. Beautiful, beautiful Hillary. Remember when he'll cause a war with his personality. No, my personality kept us out of war. We didn't have any wars. I was the first one in, I think they say 76 years. We won the wars and we brought them back. We defeated ISIS. ISIS was supposedly going to be like 4 years to beat them. I did it in 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, and we got 100% of the ISIS caliphate. I remember when I was at 99% in the media, the fake news back then. Ooh, that's a lot of news. It's a lot of fake news. But they were saying, he's leaving before he completes the task. I said, can Russia, can Iran, can Iraq, which, by the way, is sort of Iran, if you want to know the truth. Another great move by a certain politician who probably ranks right up there with... Nobody ranks, by the way, close to the one we have now. But we've had some pretty bad ones. I'll tell you, the happiest president in history right now is Jimmy Carter. Because I would say he was a brilliant president by comparison to crooked Joe Biden. I would say Jimmy Carter was a magnificent, brilliant. He was George Washington compared to this guy. But he's a happy man. That's good. When I'm back in the Oval Office, we will cut off every penny of money that we send to the Palestinians and the terrorists on day one. We will fully support Israel in defeating, dismantling, and permanently destroying the terrorist group known as Hamas. And under my leadership, we not only imposed crushing sanctions on Iran, we unlocked American energy to drastically cut oil prices. You know, we had oil so low that it didn't make sense for Russia. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine anyway. I don't care how high it was. I had a very good relationship with Putin, which the press hates to hear, you know. But it's nice to have good relationships with people that can cause lots of problems. But we had a very good relationship with a lot of them, and I'll tell you, there was no way he would have done it. And I told him, I said, you can't do it. If you do it, it's going to be hell to pay. You're going to be hit so hard. And no. I said, no, you will. I told him, I won't tell you what I said, but I told him. And again, we got along, but I said, listen, you know, we have a good relationship, but we're going to hit you so hard. And here's the thing. I told him what we're going to do, and he said, no way. I said, way. He said, no way. I said, way again. And he didn't believe me, okay? He didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. Brad, he believed me 10%. That's all you need, right? So 10% was fine. He would have never gone in. And he wasn't. And by the way, he didn't go in. We went 4 years. He didn't go in. And then I think what happened is he saw the gross incompetence of a good withdrawal. I got it down to 2,500 troops from, you know, many times that. And we were going to withdraw with dignity and with strength and with respect. I spoke to the head of the Taliban, Abdul. I said, still the head. I said, Abdul, you're killing our soldiers. Don't do it anymore. We're going to hit you so hard, you're not even going to believe it. But why do you send me a picture of my home? I said, well, I will tell you. We'll have to discuss that someday. We'll have to discuss. But they were, from that time, we went 18 months without a soldier being shot at or killed. Not even shot at. 18 months. We're getting along just fine. And then when this clown came in, they had a field day. They just had a field day. But we went 18 months, no soldier killed, no soldier even shot at. And they were knocking them off like you wouldn't believe. They were killing our soldiers and others under the Obama administration, of which Biden was a piece of it. He'd go to all these countries. You know, he was going to all these countries with his son. At some point, does this thing not work with the son, right? You know, at some point you say, look, this son thing isn't working out very well. But he'd go with Hunter to all these countries. He visited them, and I guess they did numbers. But it was very sad to see and to read, and you see it going on right now at levels that you wouldn't believe. But 3 years ago, we were energy independent. We were energy dominant. Within 4 or 5 months, we were going to sell oil to Europe and all parts of the world. We're going to pay off our debt. We were going to reduce your taxes. I gave you the largest tax cut in history, bigger than Ronald Reagan's tax cut. Gave you the largest regulation cuts. But now we'd have the energy future would never be hostage to hostile foreign powers. We didn't need it. We didn't have to worry about that. But Biden surrendered to Iran, totally surrendered. Crooked Joe shut down American energy, and he unleashed Iranian oil like nobody's ever seen before. Made them really rich, really far greater than the $6 billion you read about. A little more complex, but far greater. That's why I thought I'd explain it to you. It's not too complex. They made a fortune. They got hundreds of billions of dollars. On day one, I will shut down Iranian oil, and I will unleash American energy like it's never been unleashed. We were ready to do that. We had it unleashed. And we will drill, baby drill. Is that okay? Remember I told you in Iowa, I said, go out and buy bigger tractors and more land, right? That's what I said. Just go buy. And that's what happened. I made a deal with China, the only one to make a deal with China. It's funny, I told this story before. I heard my people, I said, how much money is it that we're talking about? Because China took tremendous advantage of our country, especially with the farmers. I said, what's the number? I asked Sonny Perdue, Secretary of Agriculture. I said, what's the number? He said, 28 billion, sir. It's 28 billion. I got you $28 billion from China. That's what I asked for. Said I didn't want to get greedy. 28 billion from China. That's why when they say, sir, please don't talk that way when you're in Iowa. It sounds like you're so arrogant. And you shouldn't do it. I said, but I have to. Because I said, there's no way I lose Iowa. I got their farmers $28 billion for Nebraska and Iowa, Wisconsin, and any farm state. They got a lot of money. They got a lot. They got that money. They couldn't believe it. Who else would have asked China? I'm sorry, you got to give us $28 billion. No, we got hundreds of billions of dollars for the country. I took the $28 billion out of that. No other president got 10 cents from China. Not 10 cents. I got hundreds of billions of dollars from China. They weren't particularly in love with me, but I actually got along very well with President Xi until COVID, in which case that was a case too far. But most importantly, we will keep the radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country, like I did for 4 years. Like I did for 4 years, I kept them out, right? I wouldn't have said it. I told you I wouldn't have said it. In 3.5 years, I wouldn't have said it. 1 month short, I didn't want to talk about it. But right after we got out, I said, for 4 years, you had no problem. The atrocities in Israel are a horrific reminder that immigration security is truly national security. It really is. It's national security. We have people coming into our country now that are the same people in many cases as did what they did 2 weeks ago in Israel. The purpose of U.S. immigration law is not to protect the world. It's to protect the United States of America. We have to protect our own country. And you've just seen these depraved savages rampaging through civilian communities, house by house, torturing, raping, and maiming innocent men, women, and children. It's horrible. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. I don't think we've ever seen where they kill babies in the worst manner. I won't even say what they do to the babies, but you've seen it. They kidnapped infants and they hurt the elderly horribly and took them hostage, and ultimately they killed them and tortured them to death. They had children tied up and shot, and much worse. I mean, that's as bad as it gets, but it even gets worse. The babies were murdered and they were burned. People who think like this, people who support this, and people who sympathize with this are sick. They're sick and they're evil, and they're not going to be fixed. You're not going to make them into wonderful people one day. I didn't know you had flies in Iowa. I hate flies. Now, I'll get in trouble for saying that. Cruelty to animals. No, it's true. You know, I said the other day, I was at a place, and there's a beautiful place, but they had like flies. And I said, get fly paper. They said, sir, they're not allowed to sell it anymore because of cruelty to animals. They actually said that. I don't know. Can you get fly paper? It used to be great, right? But they said, you can't do that anymore, sir. It's cruelty. What the hell is going on with this country? But today I'm announcing vital steps that we'll take to protect our people in the next term. We need this. First, upon my inauguration, and it's our inauguration. It's going to be our inauguration, not mine. You know, when I ran for president, I said this is going to cost a lot of money. I had no idea it was going to cost this much, but I don't care. It doesn't matter, because what we've done is so incredible, and what we'll do is, in a certain way, I think even more important, because they've shown how bad they are. They've shown how sick they are. They've shown how incompetent they are. And that's why we're doing the numbers that we're doing. We're doing numbers that are far greater than the numbers. You know, we did amazing, obviously, in 2016, but a lot of people don't understand. We did much better in 2020. Got millions more votes. That never happens. Usually a president gets less votes and wins. I got numbers that nobody believed, and was told by the biggest pollsters, Fabrizio, McLaughlin, sir, have you got 63 million votes again? It's a landslide. I said, well, that's good. We got millions and millions more votes. No president's ever gotten more votes, I mean, by a number, I think 2 or 3 times, what anybody else has ever gotten over the previous term. And then they said, we lost the election. Oh, really? Really? No, they used COVID to cheat. They did a lot of things that were terrible. Terrible. They went up. They didn't use legislatures. They stuffed ballot boxes. All you have to do is look at 2,000 Mules, right? They stuffed the ballot boxes. Do you notice the way those books have all disappeared? Somebody said, you know, I can't get the book on 2,000 Mules. I can't get the tape. I can't get the book. They want to get rid of all that stuff because they understand it. But as I've already said many, many times before, I will immediately reinstate and expand the wildly successful Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, territories, and places. We're going to They ended it. They ended it. And it just kept us safe. We wouldn't let people come in from certain countries where there's tremendous terror. Makes sense, right? If you're coming from somewhere full of people who want to kill Americans, we will not let you in. We worked very hard on that. We had the greatest border, most secure, safest border in the history of our country. We built 561 miles of wall. Nobody likes to say that. You know what they do is, if there's like a board laying there from 50 years ago or 100 years ago, 2x4 that's rotted, they'll say, it wasn't a new build, it was renovation. No. If they had steel rotting in the sand that was a foot tall, that was ready to fall over, or fell over, they would say, oh, that was a renovation. No. We did a great job with the wall. We did a great job with Mexico, too. They gave us 28,000 soldiers free. You know, when I say Mexico will pay for the wall, they paid for much more than the wall. They gave us 28,000 soldiers free. And when I asked them for the soldiers, I said, look, you've got these caravans, they're pouring through Mexico, and you know how to stop them. You got to stop them. And I had a great relationship with the president of Mexico. He's great guy. He's a socialist. As I say, you can't have everything. But he's a great guy, very popular, too, in Mexico. And I said, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers while we're building the wall. He said, I can't do that. He gave me his top people. We'd started negotiating. One man, very smart. He was the top person in all of Mexico. I said, you got to give us 28,000 soldiers for the border. He laughed at me. What? What, are you kidding? I said, free of charge, by the way. He said, why would we do a thing like that? I said, you got to do it. The woman at the State Department, you've heard the story. Sometimes I'll tell it. It's a little long, but it's sort of cool. But you've heard it, where a woman at the State, who was really good, but she never won. She said, I've been in charge of Mexico for 20 or 25 years. She said, we've negotiated with them for years. They'll never do that. Not only that, end, catch, and release into our country, remain in Mexico, little things like that, Title 42, all these, having to do with sickness. We had people coming in with infectious disease. That's unbelievable, what's happening. Infectious disease, a big problem. And a lot of Americans are getting sick because of what's happening at the border. But I said to him, no, you have to do it. He said, no, we won't do that. I said, yes, you will, 100%. I looked at him. I said, 100% you'll do it. He didn't know what the hell I was talking. He said, no, we're not going to do that, sir. I said, yes, you will. Here's the story. It's Friday at 4 o'clock. On Monday at 7 in the morning, every single car that you make, which is millions of cars, they took 32% of our automobile business. And by the way, the United Auto Workers ought to vote for Trump because their union is selling them down the tubes, okay? Their union is selling them down the tubes with this all-electric car fantasy. They cost too much and they don't go far. Electric cars are good if you have a towing company. Other than that, in fact, I'm thinking about opening up a massive towing company, and I'll quit this race for president. We're only leading by 58 points or something. No, it's terrible. This whole electric car is sick. It's sick. They don't go far. It's good if you want to go to the grocery store, take a quick little drive. They say the best thing about an electric car, the first 10 minutes, you feel great. The next 45 minutes, you're worried about where the hell am I going to get a recharge? So it's a problem. But they don't go far, and they're very expensive. And the other thing is you'll never make them in this country because everything you need for an electric car is in China. We have the stuff that you need for our cars. It's called gasoline and oil. It's right underground. And they've sold. I have a friend who's a dealer. I think he said he's got 4,000 orders for new cars. Out of the 4,000, 100 is for electric. People don't want them. They want them. You should have electric. You should have hybrid. You should have full gasoline. You should have everything. But they're trying to make you buy electric, and it's not going to work. They want also electric trucks. They want electric trucks. I'm dealing with the big trucking industry. Some of them I know. They have hundreds of these trucks, and they're incredible people. They're very powerful people, and they're forced to use an electric truck. I said, so what's wrong with that? He said, number one, the battery is so large, would take up a big portion of the truck. But here's the real problem. You take a look at Peterbilt. You look at some of these companies that build the trucks. So a truck on diesel can go up to 2,000 miles. Think of that. 2,000 miles. an electric truck, which has a different kind of power, not the right power, an electric truck will go 300 miles. So that means you have to fill it up with charge 6 or 7 times during a trip instead of having, you want to talk about a supply chain problem. And the battery is so big. I was in South Carolina, a great state, great place, and I visited a very big boat manufacturer. He said, well, we have some problems. They want us to go no faster than 2 miles an hour. He makes speedboats, beautiful boats that go out pretty far. And he said they want us to go 2 miles an hour so we don't hurt the whale. But there's only been one whale hurt from a boat in the last 50 years. But they're putting windmills all over the place, and now the whales are washing up on shore, so they want to, that's okay. But I said to them, I said, let me ask you a question. How does an electric boat work? He said, well, we don't know, but it's so heavy that we don't know if we can keep it afloat. I said, other than that, do you have any problems? And the battery is very big. You know, it's many times the size of a tank for gas. Many, many times those big, beautiful Mercury engines, right? Many times the size. So he said the whole thing becomes almost a battery. I said, if it goes down and you happen to be the unfortunate person that's sitting on top of that big battery, do you get electrocuted? And he said, you know, nobody ever asked me that question. See, my uncle was a great professor at MIT. So that was a natural question for me. Great professor. I think he was the longest serving, Dr. John Trump. He was the longest serving. He served almost 40 years at MIT. So, you know, I have a natural, I believe in that stuff. You know, you have certain natural things, right? But I said, so let me ask you, if you have a choice between getting electrocuted from the battery or jumping 10 yards away and there's a shark over there, what do you take? Because I told him what I'd take. I will take the battery electrocution every single time, right? No, but it's crazy. And then the worst of all is they want to make our army tanks. You know, we have these great tanks, Sherman tanks. They want to make the army tanks all electric so that as we go in to obliterate a country, we do it in a hospitable way. Now think of it, we do it in a way so that we're not hurting their atmosphere. These people are crazy. And the problem is, again, size is a big problem with these batteries. You know, you'd have to tow a big truck that's bigger than the tank behind it. In other words, to get it, you'd need another tank, the equivalent, you tow it from behind. But it has a different kind of power than you need. It's not right. And there aren't too many charging stations in areas that you're obliterating, right? So they want it to be environmentally friendly. They want our tanks. So you go in and you knock the hell out of a country or city. But we do it in an environmentally friendly way. These people are crazy. There's another thing having to do with planes. They wanted a certain type of fuel because it's more environmentally friendly. I said, what does it do to the plane? Well, sir, it's approximately 15% less efficient. But we can live with that. I said, you can't live with it if you're a pilot and somebody else has another plane. It's crazy what's going on. Can't allow it to go on, actually. So the whole electric thing, we have to, if you want an electric car, you should buy it. You should buy a hybrid. You should buy all gasoline. We should sell everything like we used to, and it'll be great. The Democrats fought us like crazy over the travel ban. You know that? They fought us like crazy. I had to go through the whole court system, but after 18 months in court, the Supreme Court finally ruled the travel ban was totally constitutional because we want to keep bad people out that want to destroy our country. As president, I also suspended refugee resettlement when we entered office in 2017. Nobody had ever heard of it before. We didn't want that. And we'll do it again. We'll put it right back into place. I banned refugees from Syria. I banned refugees from Somalia. Very dangerous places, and from all of the most dangerous places all over the world, I banned them. I said, I'm sorry. And in my second term, we're going to expand each and every one of those bans because we have no choice. Some very rough people, some very, very rough people come out of those areas. They want to blow up our country. We aren't bringing in anyone from Gaza, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, or Libya, or anywhere else that threatens our security. But I will say this, tremendous numbers of people are pouring into our country right now. We have open borders. It's the stupidest thing anyone's ever seen. Millions of people a month are coming into our country. We have no idea where they're coming from, but a lot of them are the same people that went around doing what they did to Israel 2 weeks ago. A lot of them are the same people. And you have a disproportionate number of young, very strong men. strong men, sorry women, but I have to say this, you have a very, very powerful contingent of very strong men, and they're pouring into our country. What are they doing? What are they doing? I also issued a historic rule proclaiming that no refugees would be resettled in your communities without your consent, and we will reinstate that rule on day one. You had to consent. Because you have towns and cities, but you have towns. Look at New York, what's happened to New York, where they're laying all over Madison Avenue. You have shop owners that have been there for years. They're all closing their stores. They're going out of business. Next, we'll implement strong ideological screening of all immigrants to the United States. No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. We're not going to let them. We're going to have the largest deportation effort in history. And people say, oh, that's so mean. But I think meaner is when you have thousands of people being killed all over. It's one of those things. You know, Dwight Eisenhower, you'll feel better about this, because people didn't consider him that tough a guy, but he was actually a very good president, good general, very good general. But he became president, and he was a very big person on deportation. He deported more than anybody else. He said, they cannot be here. You have to come into our country legally. That's what I say. You have to come into our country legally, and you have to love our country. You can't hate our country. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified. If you want to abolish the state of Israel, you're disqualified. If you support Hamas or any ideology that's having to do with that, or any of the other really sick thoughts that go through people's minds, very dangerous thoughts, you're disqualified. If you're a communist, a Marxist, or a fascist, other than the people that are already here, of which many are in the Biden administration, you're disqualified. I'd like to get them out, too. Maybe we'll work on that next. In addition, we will aggressively deport resident aliens with jihadist sympathies. We have to. This isn't like being Mr. Nice Guy. We have to, or we're going to have a country that's going to be blown to shreds, because bad things are happening. Millions and millions of people have come into our country, and nobody has any idea where they're from. Some from countries that nobody's ever heard of. In the wake of the attacks on Israel, Americans have been disgusted to see the open support for terrorists among the legions of foreign nationals on college campuses. They're teaching your children hate. They're teaching your children hate. Under the Trump administration, we will revoke the student visas of radical anti-American and anti-Semitic foreigners at our colleges and universities, and we will send them straight back home. They go back home. Enjoy your life. Likewise, the mobs of, literally barbarians that we saw on the streets of New York and other cities last week have no place in America. We can't have it. We have to. No country can sustain it. And we all want to be nice, but no country can sustain it. Jewish mothers and fathers should never have to send their children to school fearing they'll be shot or stabbed on a so-called day of jihad, which is happening. It's a day of jihad. Under my administration, we will proactively send ICE to pro-jihadist demonstrations to enforce our immigration laws and remove the violators from our country. Many of these people are not from our country, and many of them are being supported with radical left money. The money from radical left people, you know who I'm talking about. Will continue the process we started in my first 4 years of stripping citizenship from criminals, terrorists, and immigration cheaters and frauds. They've come into our country at levels, and they're coming to Iowa, you know that. And it's dangerous. You've had killings that nobody could even believe. Nobody's seen the kind of killings you've had. Finally, we cannot forget that the same people that attacked Israel are right now pouring in at levels that nobody can believe into our beautiful USA through our totally open border and southern border. Concept of what? Civilization. Concept of stupidity. Again, we had the strongest border in history. Now we have the weakest border, I believe, in the history of the world. I don't think any border in a third world country has been like this. You take a look at what's coming in, and I think the real number is going to be 15 million people before it's over. That's bigger than New York State before it's over. 15 million people. And many of those people, again, I say it, they're from prisons, they're from mental institutions, and they're terrorists. Congratulations. This is what this man has done to our country. We will be paying the price for this for years to come if we do not do something about it immediately. You know, I do something sometimes called the snake. Did anyone ever hear of the snake? Did you hear of it? Should I do it? Should I do it? Because I have it here, and we have lots of time today. What the heck? I'm actually going back to New York tonight. I'd rather be right here with you right now. But we have plenty of time, and it's a snake. And what it is it's representative of the people that we're allowing into our country, because we know who they are. We're trying to be nice, but sometimes you can't be so nice. You have to do it. We have to run it like a country. You look at some countries have absolutely no problems. You look at others, they're a disaster. But our country is one of the great disasters of the world. We've gone from a great nation to a nation that's got problems like we've never had before. So this has to do with immigration. This has to do with Israel and what's taking place in Israel with the people that did that horrible, horrible thing 2 weeks ago on her way. And I think who's heard this before? Who? Should I do it again? Any no's? I don't think so. No, people like it. It's sort of rather incredible. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in and I'll take care of you. That's exactly what we're doing, right? I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious, vicious, vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night. As soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. And that's really it. That's what we're doing. We're taking in people. We're taking in people into our country. I think it's terrific. We're taking in what this is, what it represents. We're taking in people into our country that are going to cause tremendous problems, and most people don't want to talk about it. Upon our inauguration, because it's our inauguration, it's not my inauguration, we're all president as far as I'm concerned, because what I spent on this deal, I thought it was going to be a lot, but it's billions and billions, and I don't mind at all. I mean, Bloomberg spent what? Michael Bloomberg, $2.5 billion, and he only got the first question, right? He was decimated with the first question, $2.5 billion. But I spent a lot to do this, and I'm very glad. Somebody said, are you glad you did it? I said, yes, absolutely. They thought I'd say no. I had a nice life before this, you know. I had a life of, you wouldn't believe how nice my life was. This is a little different, but there's nothing like this, because we're doing an incredible job for our country. We won't have a country. I think if this election turns out to be rigged, and we have the best lawyers in the world this time. Nobody thought they could pull that off. But if it's a rigged election or a fake election, or if we lose this election, we are going to have, I believe, no country left. I believe that's going to happen. But I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, larger than Eisenhower's, including all of the illegal aliens from countries that hate us. These are countries that hate us. And I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known or suspected gang members, drug dealers, cartel members, and security threats from any kind and of any kind from the United States of America. We're going to get them out of our country. It's going to happen fast, too. It's no wonder the far-left lunatics are getting desperate to stop our movement by any means necessary. Crooked Joe Biden and his radical left Democrats, and they are really radical left, have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent, me, and others too, people of religion, a lot of others too. It's sick what's going on. This is high-level election interference. They want to disturb the election. This is their form of cheating this time. And it's happening for a single reason, because I'm the only candidate they do not want to run against. You know, they always say disinformation. Oh, we want to run against Ron DeSanctimonious, even though he's losing by 10 points to Biden, if you can believe. How the hell do you lose to Biden? But they say that. See, they say the opposite. Disinformation, misinformation, they're very good at it. They'll say, we really want to run against Trump, because that's who they're running against. We really want to run against Trump, but they don't. And the way I look at it, we beat him twice. Now we have to beat him a third time. We beat him. We beat the hell out of him the second time. Think of it. Think of it. Think of it. We did much better the second time than we did the first. Remember that. And they're getting beaten very badly by me in the polls. They think the only way they can catch me is to stop me from speaking. They want to take away my voice. And a judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that on speech? Which I believe is totally unconstitutional, what she did. A judge gave a gag order. A judge doesn't like me too much. Her whole life is not liking me. But she gave a gag order. You know what a gag order is? You can't speak badly about your opponent. But this is weaponry all being done because Joe Biden is losing the election, and losing very, very badly to all of us in the polls. He's losing badly. But what they don't understand is that I am willing to go to jail if that's what it takes for our country to win and become a democracy again. Thank you. Thank you very much. So true. So true. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're being laughed at all over the world. We have become a fascist state run by incompetent people that want to see us fail. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to have our country destroyed. The show 60 Minutes should be ashamed of themselves if anybody watched it on Sunday night. They just interviewed Crooked Joe Biden and led him along like he was a child. Each question contained the answer. This was a question, isn't it true that you love Israel? You know, it's every question, because they were afraid he might say no or something. And it was so weakly and apologetically asked by the host, who should have he should have never done what he did, that it was a joke. It's become a laughingstock all over the country. You take a look at what's happened, and people are showing it. And it really should be considered a campaign contribution to the Democrat Party. That's what they do. These should be campaign contributions. Why should CBS or these other networks get free public airwaves for this highly partisan type of show that they do, which never apologized to me for the mistakes they made on the laptop from hell? Remember that I said laptop from hell? Remember they came up with 51 intelligence agents that said, no, it came out of Russia. It came out of Russia right before the election. They're protecting Biden even though he's the most corrupt and incompetent president in the history of our country. They're protecting him. It's amazing to me. And again, the Carter administration looks brilliant by comparison. The only thing the Biden regime does well is go after Crooked Joe's political opponents, and even that will fail. That's going to fail. You watch, that's going to fail. It's going to fail bad. It's got to fail. Otherwise, we don't have a country. If it doesn't fail, we don't have a country. The Middle East, Ukraine, inflation, bad economy, the open border, horrendous Afghanistan, embarrassment, gas prices, our great auto worker death march. They're killing the auto workers by forcing the electric cars. They're killing the auto. You're not going to have any auto workers. I went to Michigan 2 weeks ago. I said, listen, don't worry about what you're getting per hour. That's not your problem. Your problem is you're not going to have a job in 2 years if they accept these mandates for electric cars. But so much more make Crooked Joe a total disaster for our once great USA. I have to say once great. In the new Morning Consult poll, highly respected, we're up almost 50 points. Think of that. We're up almost 50 points. These guys ought to get out. And I hear they're canceling all the debates after Miami because nobody watched. They had a debate. It was the lowest rated debate in history. Okay, that's what I read. I felt terribly about that. But we're up almost 50 points on Ron DeSanctimonious, a man who I got him the job, and then he said 4 years later, well, I'll run against him. Oh, that's not working out too well. In the Iowa State poll, we're dominating DeSantis 55-17, and he's sinking very, very rapidly. Ron DeSantis. That's the abbreviation for DeSanctimonious, in case you remember. Ron DeSantis, somebody from one of the networks on a straight interview. Ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to have Governor Ron DeSantis with us. It's DeSantis. But he actually changed his name, remember? To DeSantis. And I left a message, never change your name in the middle of a campaign. It's not a good thing. DeSantis. With his shoes, the whole deal. He's got the whole deal going. And in the general election, I'm beating Biden by a lot. In the Echelon poll, I'm leading Biden by 4 points. And in the, and by the way, DeSantis is getting killed, and so is every other Republican candidate. And in the ABC Washington Post poll that just came out, I'm up by 10, probably 11 points. That's on Biden. That's on Crooked Joe. The radical left, Democrats, rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. Thank you. Every time the radical left, Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor because I'm being indicted for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, if I wasn't running, I wouldn't have any of this stuff. Or if I was way back in the pack, they wouldn't have any. They wouldn't bother. They do this to anybody. I mean, they have Trump derangement syndrome at a level that is far greater. I don't even know if I'm correct. I probably would be. They would go after. We won that election. They couldn't believe it. We believed it, but we won in 2016. They couldn't believe it. Hillary Clinton said, why didn't they do that for me? I was closer, meaning stuff the ballot boxes. It's true. She was closer in a few states. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you, and I'm just standing in their way. I'm happily standing in their way. But this is more than a campaign. This is a movement. I've never said anything. This is bigger than 2020 and bigger than 2016. I never thought I'd say that. I thought 2016 was really earth-shaking, and it was. But this is bigger. This is more important because we've seen how bad they are. The reason this is so big now is we've seen how bad a job they've done. Every single thing they touch is bad. They don't have any success. The economy stinks. Inflation's through the roof. We have the highest inflation in 72 years. And inflation is a nation buster. If you look at inflation throughout the decades and the centuries, countries with inflation, they disintegrate. But together we'll get that taken care of very quickly. You know why? We're going to have so much energy. It's going to bring everything down. The energy is going to bring it. That's what killed us in the first place. They stopped everything, and it went up to $115 a barrel. With your autos, it was over $5. In California, $7 and $8, even more than that. You couldn't even get it. And inflation began because of that. Now everything is causing it. Bacon, bacon went up 5 times in the last year. 5 times. Together we fought for Iowa and Iowa farmers like no administration has ever fought before. Nobody fought like I did for the farmer. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, the best trade deal ever made. And you guys are doing great because of it. It was very important. And again, I gave the farmers $28 billion. I gave them a lot. That's why I know I'm going to win. I feel confident. Unlike Ron DeSanctimonious, who hates ethanol, hates it. He's voted against it numerous times. Now he's coming along. He'll probably say, well, I'm all for ethanol. One thing with a politician, when they are against something at the beginning, Brad will tell you this better than anybody. When they're with you, when they're with something at the beginning, that's where they're going to be in the end. So he may change his little direction on the election. I don't even know if he has. Nobody cares. I don't think anyone really cares. But in the end, he's going to be against ethanol, and he's going to be against Social Security, and he's going to be against Medicare, if you can believe it. I kept my promise to fight for Iowa ethanol and issued a rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round. Remember, it was only 8 months. And unlike Ron DeSanctimonious, who voted to gut Medicare and Social Security and voted 3 times to raise the retirement age to 70, big increase, I will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors. And we don't have to do that because you deserve that. If we drill and if we sell oil, then we have so much potential. We don't have to destroy people with Social Security, Medicare. Here's just some of what we will do when we become the 47th President of the United States. Before I even arrive in the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. Now, of course, Putin right now, he's sitting there because all the focus is on Israel, and he's bombing the hell out of them. It's terrible what's going on. But I'll get it done. I know both very well. I'll get it done. I'll get it done quickly. It's horrible. And again, it's not a question of winning, losing. I want to see people stop dying. When I was interviewed by those terrible people at CNN Live, remember we did that town hall? Did anybody see that town hall? It was the highest rated show they've had in 11 years, and they fired the head of CNN. Explain that. I must have done well. I either did great or horribly, one or the other, but they fired him. No, but I explained things on that live show. See, I love live television because they can't cut you off, or they're going to have a lot of open time if they do. That's why I love these guys. All those guys back there, they have those cameras raging, but when they think I'm going to say something bad about the network, those red lights go off so fast. But I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. I'll prevent it. I'm going to prevent it. I will end Joe Biden's inflation disaster. We will quickly rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world, which we had before. I will deliver additional tax cuts. The biggest tax cuts ever granted were my tax cuts, bigger than Reagan. People, they don't want to hear it, but they were. Just like in Florida, nobody ever wants to write this. I got 1.1 million more votes than DeSanctimonious. They said, oh, he did well in Florida. Well, I did a lot better than he did. I got 1.1 million votes more than he did. Regulation, right now, I don't think he's even electable in Florida. You want to know the truth? If you want to look at it. But we'll do regulation cuts, energy price cuts, and interest rate cuts. Right now, you can't borrow money from a bank, and if you do, it's so expensive it doesn't work, and the housing industry is suffering. Everything's suffering. But more importantly, you can't buy a house now because the rates are up from 2.5% when I was there to 8%, 9%, 10%. And you can't get any money. Other than that, it's doing very well. Biden has 3 major problems, and they all begin with the letter I. Inflation, immigration, and incompetence. You ever hear that one before? On day one, I will repeal Joe Biden's insane ethanol industry-killing electric vehicle mandate. We're going to knock that out so fast. And you know who's going to vote for me because of that? Every auto worker. I think I have their votes anyway, you want to know the truth. But the auto workers, they love Trump. Because, you know, our auto industry was 50% of our industry was stolen between Mexico, China, Canada. Probably a lot more than 50%, I believe. But we're going to bring it all back. Under a Trump administration, gasoline-fired engines will be allowed, but child sexual mutilation will be banned. You know what that means, right? I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed when I say that, you know, because they mutilate sexually your children without your permission. And every time I say it, I say, could you imagine 10 years ago, 15 years ago, making that statement? People in the audience would say, what's wrong with that guy? Sexual mutilation. That's what they do. I will also sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our beautiful children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or mask mandate. It's ridiculous. And another one which you can't believe that you have to say, 10 years ago they would have said, take that man off the stage. There's something wrong with him. I will keep men out of women's sports, okay? Simple. Who thinks that that's like a good idea? But you know what? The Democrats do. I don't. Who can imagine? Do you ever see some of the records that have been broken? Like in weightlifting, I think they lifted up 150 pounds. It's actually a very bad thing for women. It's very unfortunate that it's happening. It demoralizes women. It's a horrible thing. Weightlifting, swimming, all of these sports, records are being broken by numbers nobody ever thought were even possible. The swimming record was obliterated by, you know, they're looking for a tenth of a second, and, you know, people beat it by 2 minutes. It's crazy. The weightlifting, 150 pounds by a guy that didn't lift before. Have you lifted before? Beating champions. Have you lifted before? Well, not too much. Boom. And they break the record by numbers that are just crazy. I always say they put a quarter of an ounce on one side of the barbell. They put a quarter of an ounce on the other side. They go for a record that's been standing for 18 years. And a young woman gets up and she works so hard. And I won't go through the whole act because you know the First Lady hates when I do that. She hates, she said, it's not presidential, but I think it's fine. Oh. Her mom and dad are in the audience, right? They're so proud, but they're doing it up big. They put that quarter of an ounce on each side. Boom, you can't do it. Sorry, Mom. I'll do it again. I'll work so hard. Then a guy comes up who transitioned, and they ask him that question, have you had success in weightlifting before? No, I've never really done it before. Oh, good. And he gets up, bing. Do you want me to do it a few more times? It's great. Swimming, the same thing. You know, the swimming records are being obliterated. It's ridiculous. It's very, very ridiculous. And I can't even believe we have to talk about it. And, you know, young ladies that are being affected by it very greatly, like swimming champions, they're afraid to talk about it. They're actually afraid to talk about it. Just as I did 4 years ago, I will fully uphold the Second Amendment, which, as you know, is under siege. And I kept it perfect for you. I kept it perfect for you. It's under siege. And I will continue to protect innocent life nobody did for you. And when the Republicans start speaking about it, because, you know, the Democrats are the radicals. The Democrats are the radicals because they'll kill the child in the 4th month, 5th month, 6th month, 7th month, 8th month, 9th month, even after birth. Even after, remember that wacky former governor of Virginia where he said, yes, we will take the baby and we will discuss. This is after the 9th month, the baby is born. And we will discuss with the mother what we want to do with the baby. They'll kill the baby. They're the radicals. The pro-lifers aren't the radicals. They're the radicals. And when politicians, and some of them do and some of them don't, you have to go with the exceptions for the election, but you also have to follow your heart. You have to follow your heart. But when politicians speak about that,
strongly and with conviction. It's a fantastic issue, but you have to go with what you believe. You have to go with what you feel. Very important. But we got it done. We ended Roe v. Wade, which is the most radical. And we brought it back to the states, by the way. We brought it back to the states where every legal scholar, even those opposed, every legal scholar said it should be. We did something that nobody thought would be possible. For 52 years they've been trying to do it. I got it done. And again, it's got to be spoken about properly. Ronald Reagan, as you know, wanted the exceptions. He was in favor. He wanted the exceptions very strongly, felt that exceptions were important. Some people don't. Most people do, but some people don't. And you have to follow what you follow. But it's an amazing thing that was done. Nobody thought it would be possible. And we will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections, and our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. One-day voting, paper ballots, and voter ID. But until then, Republicans have to compete and we have to win. Once we win, get me in there, we'll change things around. It'll be so beautiful. You know, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. No country ever did what we did. That's why we have this kind of support. If we didn't, you wouldn't be giving us this support, both in security and every other thing that we did. Rebuilding the military. We have tremendous support in the military, tremendous support from every single group, including women and suburban women. You know why? They want safety. They want safety. A lot of suburban women, they said, oh, Trump's not doing well with suburban women. I think we did great with suburban women. I think that we had a lot of bad things happening, but, you know, they want safety. They want security. They don't want to have a low-income development built next to them in their house that they work so hard to get with their husbands, you know? And we ended all of that. So we're doing well. We did well with every single group. And what's happened is we did well, but people take it for granted a little bit. For instance, we had the safest border ever. And in 2020, I never talked about the border because we had such a good border. There was nothing to talk about. I said, can I talk about the border? Sir, nobody cares about the border. I said, that's terrible. In 2016, it was the single biggest issue. In 2020, I couldn't talk about it because nobody cared. They fell asleep. Because I did it. I did a great job on the border. But now the border is worse than it ever was in history. It makes 2016 look like a safe border. They've destroyed what we did. I can get it back. We'll get Tom Homan and Brandon Judd, and we'll get all of these guys that are so great. And the people I had. You know, incredibly, all Biden had to do, one of his consultants think he looks good in a bathing suit, and they send him to the beach a lot, you know? On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, does he ever go into the office? But they send him to the beach, and he's got a problem because those chairs weigh about 3 ounces. You know, they're marvels. They can hold a body, but a child can lift them up, right? He can't. And he can barely get his feet through the sand. And he sits there all day long at the beach, right? If he went to the beach, instead of destroying our border, destroying our military, destroying our country, if he just went to the beach all day long and just let everything be run the way it was, he would have gone down, but really as a very good president. He's destroyed everything. And a lot of it was, they say, he destroyed because anything I did, he just wanted to do different. How stupid is that? Because we had the safest border in history. Now we have the most unsafe border of any nation in history, in my opinion. And just in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. All of the things that we've been talking about. The USA is a mess. Israel is under attack. Our economy is cratering. Inflation is totally out of control. It's very bad. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Remember North Korea, how bad it was? And I got along with Kim Jong-un. They formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat in 200 years. If we lose our currency, we'll be the greatest. We will be a third world nation then. But it won't happen with me, not even a chance. Just like Russia would never have happened. Ukraine, China. Think of that. Russia with Ukraine, and China would not have even thought about going into Taiwan. And I had with President Xi. I had conversations about it. I said, can't do it. You can't do it if you do it. It was almost an identical conversation I had with President Putin, but I used the names of different cities. Does that make sense to anybody? But I said, you can't do it, and he didn't do it. He only did it after I left. Planes. A week after I left, they had 28 bombers flying over Taiwan. They never did that with me. But I would have left Afghanistan as an example. I was the one that got them down. It was 21 years with dignity. We would have had such dignity, not embarrassment. Most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. If you took the 10 worst presidents of the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. And I used to say 5, and I'd always preface it by saying, I think I could say 10. I think I can say 10. You take the 10 worst presidents, they would not have done, even weaponization, nobody's done that. They would not have done the damage that this man's done to our democracy, to our country. We're a failing nation. We're a nation in decline, and now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we can't ever let it happen. If you want to save America from Crooked Joe and the radical left, then get every patriot you know. Make sure that you're registered Republicans. You have to be registered Republican. And get them out to vote in their local precinct caucus at 7 p.m. on Monday, January 15th. January 15th, so important. Get them to get out and vote. You got to get out and vote. We have to send it off with a bang. We're going to win Iowa, but we got to win by, we want to win by a big number because we want to go into that election. And remember, the only reason you first is because I kept you there. A lot of people like to take credit. There was only one person that kept you first. We're asking you to commit to caucus for us and to bring as many people as you can. You bring 3 or 5 or 10 or 20. And it's very important, so important. It sets a tone for the rest of the election because in November we have to win. Sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com and get involved. 2024 is our final battle. It's our final battle. This country is going to either be greater than ever before, or we're not going to have a country. That's how bad it all is. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. They want to go to war with every country. They know nothing about it. Let's just go to war. Let's make all those missiles and let's just go to war. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists, and we throw out the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. They're so sad. They have such an important place, and they're so fake. They're so corrupt. They have a lower rating now in the public eye than Congress. Can you believe that? But they serve such a function. They could do such a great thing. It's so hard without them because they are fake. It was a term I came up with a long time ago. And it's almost not tough enough. That's how bad it is. But hopefully they can change. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job once and for all. Once and for all. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man, woman, will be forgotten no longer. We're going to forget them no longer. I didn't forget them for 4 years, but then they forgot them. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first. We will make America great again, greater than ever before. We can do that, greater than ever before. Thank you very much, Iowa, and God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.